Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Nina Zapala is the creator of Spiritual Personality Typing, a modern twist on the Myers-Briggs system that integrates spiritual guidance for self-discovery and authentic living. A certified Myers-Briggs instructor, award-winning travel professional, and author of Unpack Your Personality, Let Your Inner Guide be your travel guide. I love that. Nina helps individuals align their personality type with their higher self. Her work combines spiritual psychology, insights with her own transformative life experiences to empower others to break free from limiting beliefs and realize their true potential. Thank you so much for being on my show today, Nina. It's so you I love your energy and I love your nature in the background. You got
Thank you.
it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here and letting me get this out, and, let's all shine within, and that's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
So I love it.
Yes. Yes. And so, what inspired you to develop spiritual personality typing, and how does it differ from the traditional Myers Briggs system?
It's a really, really good question. Okay, let me kind of break this out. So, um, I was fortunate enough from unfortunate circumstances to encounter a spiritual psychologist, Dr. Junley Nix. And this was in the time before spiritual psychologists weren't cool. Cause look, I have gray hair. So this was in the early 2000s, and she was into everything. And I started studying Myers-Briggs, and I was very interested in it because Myers-Briggs, of all the personality types that I studied, and she taught it all. She taught Enneagram, she taught Myers-Briggs. She was teaching astrology, and I just gravitated to Myers-Briggs because I feel like your traits actually transcend with you as you start progressing in life. So they have a very interesting, for me, types of season that meet you in your season to make you expand further. So I was really attracted to that. But as I started studying it, I was like, where's the soul? So I asked June, I said, June, where's the soul? Where, Dr. Nix, where's the soul in that? And she looked at me dead in the eye, and this was her. She's an INTP, so she's got that fierceness about her. And she turned around and she said, Nina, if you're seeing that and it's not out there, you need to go do something about it. Now go do something about it. So I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And, decades later, I started really figuring this stuff out and really, really studying it and studying Carl Jung and, taking the Myers-Briggs test. And it was just so interesting for me to do that. And then a 7-year life tsunami hit the shores of my life. But I had all these teachings that I learned. So I started applying this stuff, and I really, really started applying the deep spiritual aspects. I mean, I always kind of had that in me because my mother was very psychic. Like, she would talk to deceased relatives and she'd go, well, Uncle Wally's doing this and Aunt Stell's doing this. And I'm like, Mom, you know, they've been gone for years now. And she's like, dog patted me on the head, just, oh, honey, just because you can't see things doesn't make it real. And that shook me. And that is never, that memory, that time never left my life. So I've always had the spiritual inclination. I was just trying to elevate, the practical side of it, right? Because if we understand our personality type, it lets the spiritual aspect of you do its thing because you're not so marred in this whole heaviness of fear and you get to shine within. It's really what this is about. Like, it does. It lets you shine within, and you take that direction instead of the fear direction. So it's different from traditional Myers-Briggs, which is very focused on, it's more patriarchal, and it's more focused on the logical, traditional cognitive aspects of stuff than what I teach. So
Yeah.
it is very different, very different.
Yeah, that's
It's I
beautiful.
say I say it's modern Myers-Briggs for these transforming times because we are in very transformative times. So we
Tell
we
me
need
about it.
we need to bring something from the 1940s and make it relevant to what's happening today, right? It's 1940, it's not relevant anymore. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think my only my grandma was living during those times, not even my
Yeah.
mother. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
so can you explain the concept of the inner guide? Today I just heard something called your inner GPS, and I thought that was so neat.
yeah, I kind of use that because so when I feel like your inner guide is, and I get into this in the book, I talk about it as Everyone has a divine spark within, or it's a fractal. I say God. You can say, I say divine intelligence too, whatever you want to call that. The great eye, the great eye, the source, whatever. And but you were born of that. So you have that in you. This costume that we're in, I call it my couture suit because I like to be but it's just it's really just here from the physical world. What we're most about is that fractal of God within us. And the reason we're here is so we can experience all of the things that comes with this lower density. And this is, and people are like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, I'm going to tell you a story because I like to tell stories. But when everything, life's just purring along and everything's good, and you're not really learning. You're just like, da, na, 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 na. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just like, meh, okay, we're going to. But when there's a challenge, when a challenge becomes part of that, it starts shaking you up. It starts pushing you into unknown aspects of yourself. And that's all your soul wants to do. It's going to push you. My soul is feisty. My soul is feisty, you know? It put me in a 7-year life tsunami like this. It's like, I'm done playing, Nina. We're done. This is what's going to happen. But your soul really is here to create challenges for you so you learn. And not in a negative sense. If you look at challenges as opportunity for personal growth, to, create more curiosity in your life, right? Just to create all these beautiful, turn the unknowings into a knowing that turns into wisdom. So there's all these beautiful ways to look at why and how to tap into that divine spark within. And that's why I say, let your inner God be your travel guide. Because even when you travel, it's there. It's probably going to want to take the detour, which you're not going to want to do. So you might find yourself on a detour and just go, okay, then my soul wants to take a detour. What am I going to learn from this? Right. So does that explain that a little bit?
Oh, yes, definitely. Now, I
Good.
was going to ask you about your book. How is the whole writing process? Because I want to write a book, and I feel like
You
I
need
keep
to.
on saying this. Like, I'm
You
like,
need.
okay, I've got some stuff on paper, but I stopped. I'm like, what's keeping me going? What's
Yeah. You.
preventing me from going?
Well, I did. I will say I had like PS. What's the phrase? You PSD, or what's the thing? It was.
Yeah.
It was. It's traumatic only in the fact, like, especially when you birth it, you're like, oh. And the writing process for me, I'm a writer, so I kind of like doing it. It was very long in coming because what happened is I was listening to that spark of divine within me. So as I was going through my tsunami, um, I was writing down stuff, writing. So I was learning. So I'd write something. And I'm like, ooh, I just learned this. I need to rewrite this. So a lot of the book comes from me navigating parts of my tsunami, and a lot of the book too comes from me talking to like really whip smart entrepreneurs, like multi-million-dollar digital, creators, and moms on a mission. And so when I was going navigating my tsunami, I'm like, I'm going to talk to them because they'll know best. Because look, they're all successful, they got it all, they know what's going on. I thought I did, and I was like, well, obviously I don't, because there's something missing, right? And so this was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women. And what finally I got down to, and this is something that answers your question, is like, you know, I want to do this, but I'm not doing it. I just don't know how. I don't know myself well enough. I'm not sure of myself. Do I have the courage? Do I have the fortitude? I have all the money and all that stuff, but it's not making me happy. And I'm like, you haven't tapped into your true self. You haven't got into that divine spark within you that will help you. That'll help you navigate your life. That'll help you navigate your book. You just got to start tapping into it. And my favorite meditation for you to try is what I call, you just, in the morning, you sit down and quiet and just say, divine, please show me. And just
Mhm.
sit there, your eyes closed. If something comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you'll usually start getting answers. So you might ask yourself, what's the roadblock? Divine, please showed me. And you'll get an answer. You'll get an answer. It might not be what you want to hear, but you'll get an answer.
I love that. What's the roadblock? That's the
Yeah.
question I need to be asking,
Yeah.
because I get all the answers all the time whenever I'm in a new project or if I'm doing something new. And then I'm just asking, like, okay,
Yeah.
what's next? What do I need to do next? And I will
Yeah.
get the answer. But now I'm like, well, why am I not doing this book writing? And what
Yeah.
is the roadblock? So thank you
Yeah.
for reminded me to ask the divine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, just ask a different question. Sometimes just questioning yourself, and it's probably going to be something that you need to examine now in your life to move you in the next direction of where you want to go. And that's just
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a little detour.
Little detour. I love
It's just
that.
a little detour, you know?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what are some practical steps listeners can go ahead and take to begin embracing their dualistic nature, like physical and non-physical, extrovert and introvert?
Yeah, yeah. The first thing I say, you really must know your personality type. And this is where I bump heads with traditionalists. So many traditionalists say, well, you really only use your first two traits because and they call them the dominant trait, which I'm like, ooh, that's just a horrible name. We don't want to call it that. And plus, I have more spiritual inclination. So I call this dominant trait your North Star. And so, yeah, so because it's really your guiding light. It's the trait that really empowers you to be you. And it's not all who you are, but it does have a lot of influence. But back to the knowing all your traits, my whole thing is, and I hear this all the time, well, your first two traits, and then I'm like, no, divine creator created this, or this came through somebody as four traits that you use. Know all four. All four play a role. Don't just get stuck on the two because that's a patriarchal thing. You know what I mean? It's the power, it's where you go. No, 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 no. No, no, no. You need to know all because all of them have impact and influence. And introverts, I find, and I'm highly introverted, but I am an extrovert. I'm like introvert, like 48% and extrovert 52%, which is, of course, makes sense because I'm teaching this. So I have to know both that are pretty good things. So, there's never any mistake, right? But introverts, I find, um, they are highly introspective. So moving into this new age, I think they're gonna have a little bit easier time because they automatically go in and think. They're just quieter in their nature. They do, enjoy the silence. So when you're automatically in that state, you're gonna hear the messages more easily. Where an extrovert, like myself, we want to go out and do. We want to, oh, let's talk. No, no, no. We need to learn how to get quiet. So we're going to be taking a lot of direction from introverts, I think, at this next phase. So I think the whole thing is going to flip where extroverts were so dominant in the patriarchal society. Introverts are going to become more not dominant in a way, but um more oh, prolific or more. I think they're gonna feel I don't want to categorize because I hate doing that, but they're gonna feel more in tune with the world, which they haven't before. It's been more accepting for extroverts. It just has been. There's no fault of any. It's just been more accepting. So I think they're gonna have an easier time. They're more reflective. And extroverts are doers. But we're just doers. It's just part of our nature. We're do, which is fine, but I think we need that balance. And when
Mhm.
you come in and know yourself, you're going to start seeing, oh, there's a weakness, there's a strength. And then when you start struggling or you feeling blocked, you go into those traits and like, oh, this is where I could be blocking. This trait could be dominating something that I'm not seeing. So I need to unpack that and figure out where that's coming from so I can correct it. So
Right.
it's definitely a roadmap. It's definitely a roadmap. But I will tell you too that your life experiences greatly impact you, as does your soul mission. So and I always tell people, I teach personality typing, but you're not your personality type. People are like, what? I'm like, because you're really not. You're so much more dimensional than just the physical aspects of yourself. That's so much more to it than what we're told is, what how we've been conditioned to believe we're just our senses. We're not. And you know that. You know that.
Oh, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
going to talk to you about or tell you that I used to be an extrovert, but I was also partying, drinking, and just out there in the scene. And it wasn't until I became sober that I really had to learn to be still, connect with
Mhm.
the divine. That, yes, I still have those extrovert qualities,
Yeah.
but
You're just more in balance.
I am definitely more of an
Yeah.
introvert now because I love being by myself.
Yeah.
I get a lot of my ideas
Mhm.
when I have my quiet time out in nature.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and so I totally understand what you're talking about because
Yeah.
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you come into balance. It's coming in balance because your personality type never really changes. Because people ask me all the time, they go, "Well, my personality is different." I'm like, it is. It hasn't changed. You're not a different personality. What's happening is you've evolved. And what you're doing is you're taking all the best aspects of yourself and those what's evolving. And that's you're creating more from those higher aspects of yourself because those aspects are more in line with that divine spark within. So when there's a blend, an aligned blend of your personality type and that divine spark within, that's where the truth self is. That's the true self is the bridge between the two. Because the true self is really your soul, your higher conscious that can actually understand and speak to that divine, while the divine, when it speaks through your soul, your higher consciousness, it allows your soul to go ahead and express those messages through your personality type into your personal reality. So that's kind of how it works. So it's like a downhill, beautiful flow into your reality instead of fighting, instead of, the external where you're just fighting these. Why would this open? Why would this open? Because you're not in flow with you're not in flow with all the aspects of yourself. So yeah. So
Yeah.
that makes sense that you're doing that because you're evolving. So you're a lot more comfortable with that. That's a really good sign. You should be proud of yourself. That's
Oh,
that's not
thank
easy
you.
to do.
It took some work, but the work
Yes.
works. The
Yeah,
work
but the work
works.
works. I love that. The work, it's true. It's true. That's really true. And you have to do the work because people are like, I want to just get there. Like, I want to do this in 30 days. I'm like, you're the wrong person. I can't do, I can start you on your path, but it's a daily thing. You know that, and I know that.
It is. Now, speaking of work, what are some of the tips, tools, and theories you've used to create a life of meaning and purpose? And
Oh, that's
how
a good,
can, yeah, and how can others apply these in their own lives as
yeah,
well?
that's a good one. Well, I do a lot what you say. I do take a lot of time for silence. Like my mornings are silent. Like I don't even no calls or anything before 10. I just don't. When I get up early, I have a dog, I walk my dog, I do a meditation, I'll do some journaling, I do breath works, I'm out in nature. So I'm totally feeding that spirit, right? I'm always feeding that, always feeding that. And I do say my favorite prayer, divine show me for the day. I always ask to be shown, always ask to be shown. And when that starts becoming a habit, you'll just see your life is way more in flow and it's easier. It doesn't always work. I'm not perfect. I'm so far from perfect. It's incredibly funny to think that I'd be perfect, but um, you do start getting more into the flow of things, you know. And I have a lot of people with personal branding. They're like, "Well, I'm this, I'm that." I'm like, "I know because you're not trusting what what you've been sent here to do and be. Because if you start trusting that." You just break through all barriers because you're showing up as that divine spark. How do you compete with that? There's no competition at that point. But if we're all doing it, just think how much better the planet would be if we were all coming from that aspect instead of I want more, I want this, And that's what I learned too from all these women I talk to. They're like, "Well, I have it all. I have the more." I'm like, "Me too." Like, what else can we have? And it's unfulfilling, So I try not to focus on those things so much. I try to focus on what my core is. My core is really helping women like really fully understand their true self, the external, and how the higher self leads their life. So my goal is to influence 10,000 women to do that. Because if I have 10,000 women doing that, my gosh. I mean, I've had 2 or 3 people doing it already, and I'm so excited. I mean, because they're doing like really great things, right? And it's just exciting. But it's more about, for me, um, actualizing that true self within you, and that's the work. That really is your work. Working on that every day. What is that? What do I love so much that I'm going to give it my all every single day, that it's going to make me excited? Do I do it every day excited? No. But I do know when I don't do that, I do feel empty. Like I can feel that. I can feel the difference, especially when I start wandering. I'm like, I'll do this because I think I know better. And it's just, I get banged in the head by my soul, go, no, you don't, get back over here. you know? So those are
Yeah.
some tips I use. I just, journaling tips, walking, working out. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in probably 7 years, 5 years. I don't watch the news. Like I'll get little blippets of things. I want to know what's going on, but I don't really do that. And to be honest with you, when people have really vibe and energy, that's not my energy. I'm grateful for it because it shows me what I want and what I don't want, but I don't stay there anymore.
Mhm.
I just don't let that affect me anymore. I don't let it affect me personally. I don't try to jump in and try to help somebody because they're not broken. They're just on their path. I don't try to help fix somebody because they're not, they don't need fixed. They need to, everyone's on a path. Everyone has this divine spark of God within. We're no different than anybody. But what I try to do is boundaries. And I just read this great quote. Who do I attribute it to? Forget the name. I think it's Mr. Ripples. He's got a really good newsletter. But he said, boundaries are a form of self-love. And I said, that's the true statement. Isn't that a true statement? I was like, that
Oh,
is so
yeah.
good. That was yummy. One day I was like, "Ooh, that was a good one." So, yeah, so, I do have boundaries and I do watch and I try to step into situations that are really aligned with me. Not that I don't want to learn new things because I do, but I try to go more of an aligned route now than trying to force something that doesn't feel good. So it
Mhm.
always has to feel good too. So hopefully those are long-winded tips.
No, I love it. I love it. Yes, and boundaries is a form of self-love because it allows you to say no that to something that doesn't
Yep.
align with you and say yes to something that does align to you that
Yes.
is for your purpose
Yeah,
in
you're
life.
opening doors.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going through a door that you're just gonna run into a cement wall? Why don't you open the doors where it's gonna be the path to let you shine, right?
Right. You want
Take that
joy.
path. Yeah, enjoy, play. We need to play more, you know? So
Yeah.
I try to do that. And I try to play more too. I'm getting better at that. I need to really work on that. So
Yeah, and you love traveling as well.
I love traveling. I haven't been traveling as much because it's gotten so wonky. I do road trip though. I'm a road tripper. So I'm a road tripper. Like
Okay.
I like to just get in my car and go see where am I going? I don't know. We'll just go. You know.
Yes. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, how do you use travel as a tool for self-awareness and personal growth in the context of spiritual personality typing?
Yeah, really good question. And that's a pillar of my book. If you think about travel, and this is why I like to travel, like just take once a month and just go somewhere. You think about travel, it really does get you out of your routines, right? And travel almost always puts you in a situation of unknown, of taking a risk, of discovering something new. And that's really what travel is about, right? If you think
Yeah.
of what travel is, it's become a lot more consumptive since I was in the industry for 20 years. So it's changed a lot, but it still has an opportunity to be a path, a playground for self-discovery. And things I write in the book, which is really interesting, I wrote a chapter on, travel as a way forward. And two of the things I tell you to do, one of them is called be the flâneur, and that's a French word for just strolling and observing. But if you can just, when you travel, and this is hard because I've done this and it is hard because I'm an extrovert too. So I want to jump in, right? It's easier for introverts. They're like, yeah, I get that. I always do that. You don't have to tell me how to do that. But if you just observe, right? You sit back, you plant yourself somebody, either you're strolling, you're sitting on a bench, or walking, and if you just observe, you don't engage, you don't talk, you just observe and see what comes up. Does a flower stand, does it excite you? Like, what about that excites you? Take a little bit of notes, right? And so when you get back home, you're doing these reflection questions saying, what about that excited me? Do I need more flowers? Do I want fresh flowers in my life? Do I need more color in my life? You know, there was such an array of different things. Do I need more different things in my life? Am I too set in my patterns? And you ask the question, divine, please show me, right? And it'll start showing you. But that's one way I say to travel. And then the other way is what I call forest bathing. And that's just that's comes from Japan, and it's about getting out in nature, again, being in stillness and going to a forest and just silently walking for hours. No phone, no nothing, nothing. You're just you can take your phone in case, you get lost or something, but it's not about that. It's really about connecting into Mother Nature. And we all know Mother Nature is so healing. So I do strongly suggest you do that. And I also suggest that you have a little meditation handy when you travel, because it could be. And it's just a real quick breath work that you do. Like when something gets crazy, it's always for your best. So just know that and calm down. It's gonna be all right. But you just take 3 breaths. You just like pretend you're blowing up a balloon. You blow it in, then you get it out. You blow it in, and so you take 3 breaths. Just think of your blood up and just calm yourself down right then and there, and just know this is okay. So what if the flight's canceled? There's something else on the horizon. Maybe I'm supposed to meet a new person. Maybe I'm supposed to get a detour in another place and I'm going to fall in love with, who knows? I might move there. We don't know. We don't know. But if we're not looking at it from, wow, this is an unknown opportunity for me to get curious and really figure out what's going on here, then we miss out. You know, if you're going to get stuck in the anger and then you're missing out. You're missing out on everything. So
Yeah, it's so
those are a
funny
couple
that
of
you said
ways.
that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to spend the night in Atlanta,
Uh,
Georgia,
yeah.
at the airport once.
Big surprise.
Right. I
Big
missed
surprise,
my
Atlanta.
connecting flight because they didn't want to land because of the thunderstorms and whatnot. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
the next flight wasn't until the next day. But so I'm like, okay, how can I make this fun? I didn't sleep
Good.
at all. So, I really enjoyed those trains inside the airport. So
Yeah.
I was playing a game. I was sharing this with somebody too. I was playing a game of let's see how long Gina can stand up before she has to hold on to something that doesn't fall. I was just walking around, felt
That's
like the
good
apocalypse
then.
because who can say they've been at the Latin Georgia airport and there's nobody there? It's like
Yeah.
so busy all the time
Yeah.
and everyone's rush, rush, rush. But you see people, vacuuming, clean the seats, some people were just walking, some people sleeping, some
Yeah.
coworkers sleeping, ready to get up, and they had their Dunkin' Donuts shirt ready to go to
Yeah.
their job. And
Yeah.
so I had to have fun. And that's what
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. That's really good. It's really good that you just took the opportunity to play. Why
Yeah.
not? That's so good for you. It's good for your soul.
Yeah, I noticed that I'm my own best friend. My higher consciousness is with me all the time and it's there to
Mhm.
guide me. And so we just have fun together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I used to have my noisy mind before I learned to calm it down and say, hey, I know you're
Yeah.
there, but not today. Not
Yeah. Yeah,
today.
good for you. I'm sorry, not today.
Not
That's
today.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And so it's
awesome.
so important to connect to your inner guidance there
Yeah,
too.
it is.
Yeah. So I always get the questions like, why am I here? Who do I want to become? And I wanted to ask you, in what ways does spiritual personality typing help answer these questions?
Yeah. It's really funny because I'm always on that fence of who do I want to become because we have been conditioned to be separated from ourselves. So we kind of have to return to ourselves, but we don't have to become anybody. We already are it. We just have to look inside and connect to it, right? So, and I believe what you're here for is to just grow. It's
Yes.
just like be your purpose. Be your purpose all the time. Like you're saying, be with your higher consciousness and let it just grow and be that. And then how is that going to show up in the world? Because you're already here with for meaning and purpose. It's in every cell of your being. So you don't have, people are always like, I need to go find it. I'm like, well, go look inside. Like you're not going to, you're not going to, people want to find it in the external world. They want to apply somebody else's methods and formulas. And I'm like, no, 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 you know? And that's part of the work I do is like, I help people see who they really are, like who you are, how you do what you do and why you do it and why it matters. And I just bring all that stuff to life. It's already in you. I'm just pulling it out of you, you know? And that's really what I believe when people are asking these questions, like we make it so difficult. It shouldn't be that difficult because it already is. It's just removing those layers. As you said, you were this and you're this and this. Well, you had to start removing those layers, and that's where the work comes in.
Mhm.
So my honest answer to that is people don't want to do the work. And a lot of times fearful that they're going to lose something they feel that they can't lose, you know? And when I went through my life tsunami, I lost everything. So I don't have that fear anymore. It was just gone, like everything, my marriage, my house, my job, everything, like everything was just gone. I'm like, well, this isn't fun. It wasn't fun. I'm like, this is not fun. But it taught me that I was relying on things that weren't even me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I understand why people are fearful of that. But sometimes those are the exact things you need to leave behind so you can really start getting into that who you are. Right? It lets that who you are shine from within. And it really does. When you start removing all the baggage and all that, it can't shine when everything's so covered. It can't, you know?
Mhm.
So
100%. I love that. Yes, we all go through our tsunamis. Oh my goodness. I can tell you
Yes.
how many tsunamis I've gone through in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But they've helped
We
me go
do.
inward and then start asking for guidance because outside stuff is just temporary. We're not
Yes.
taking it with us when we die.
Yes. Yes.
Staying here.
No, that's absolutely. No, I feel that's absolutely right. It's like, guys, this is, and it's so funny because, like I was saying, I had it all. And I was talking to these women, they had it all. I mean, these women were spending, 20, $30,000 a night on a
Mhm.
villa. Yeah. So they had it all.
Wow.
They didn't want for anything, right? And they're like, I feel empty. I don't have any meaning. I'm like, okay. We're sitting here, there's a chef at their disposal, a masseuse at their disposal, anything you want to eat at their disposal. They had it all
Yeah.
and they still felt empty. I'm just bringing that up because it goes to your point. You don't take it with you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't build wisdom within you. And the wisdom, I think, is what really brings the joy.
Mhm.
So I learned that
Abundance.
lesson. Yeah.
I feel like I have an abundance. It's not about having more, it's being more.
Yay. I love that so
Yes,
much.
abundance is
Yes.
yeah, I don't have a big house. I have a townhouse, but this is my mansion to me.
Yeah.
It's
And
my mountain.
you're gonna laugh because I want to. My brother's like, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "I want a Volkswagen. I want an old Volkswagen."
Yeah.
He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Just want an old Volkswagen. I don't know. Got a crazy hair." And he's like, "You're so weird." I'm like, "Thank you." But he goes, "It's good. We can get a little treasure one and fix it up." I'm like, "Yeah." So I'm not into like I had all that. Like I had the designer, everything, the house, the clothes, like it just
Yeah. It's just they're just things.
yeah.
They're just things.
Like you said, you just can't take it with you, and there's no meaning in it, There's just for me, there wasn't a lot of meaning in it, and that's why so many women expressed the same thing. There was no meaning. They felt empty because it was just stuff. Just
Mhm.
managing your stuff, and you're chasing more stuff. I want more. What are
Yeah.
you chasing? How much more is what's and when does more end? But we're
Mhm.
not taught that in the society. We're taught more is better, more is better. Always.
Consumerism.
Yeah.
Buy this, get this starts with at a young age with all of those commercials. I remember when I was a little girl in the 80s watching all of those commercials, I wanted the new latest Cabbage Patch Kid every time.
Yeah,
You know?
they do. They do. It's like it's almost like I don't hate to call it brainwashing, but it kind of is because
Yeah, it
like
is.
everything you see, it's like more, 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 more. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, stop already. Just stop. Like this is just, you know,
Yeah.
I, it's gonna stop because I think people
Oh,
are
yeah.
wising up. I think a lot more people are, especially women, and I think men are too. You see a lot more men that are just so much more into themselves, and it's beautiful. So fingers
Yeah.
crossed. New Earth is upon us. Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. My
Yeah.
husband's asking for breathing exercises. He's the most logical engineer personality
Oh, I
type
love
ever.
it.
And
I
so I
love
know
it.
the world is changing when he's changing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yay. That's
yay.
good though. That's good. Do you know your personality type any chance?
I mean, I've taken the disc before and I was what as an influence, I was taking the Enneagram and I was a Enneagram 7 and a 5. So
I'm a
the
7.
oh really? And then I
Yeah.
was a 5, which I guess is the investigator. But those are the only personality tests I've ever taken
Okay.
before.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. I just was curious.
Or wait,
If you
I've also had human design done, but that was a little bit confusing for
I know I didn't
me.
get that. They're like, why don't you do
Manifestor
this?
generator, I don't
Yeah.
something
I'm
like
just like,
that.
just give me the 4 types. I mean, I've been studying that long because Carl Jung, he's like, this wasn't easy stuff to study. I'm like, have his book like this thick. I'm like, what
Oh,
did you just
wow.
say? I have no study and say, but this is funny. And I'm glad you brought this up because I have so many people that come up to me and they go, I can tell you your why. And I'm like, oh, how do you do that? And they're like, on, they go, you this, you're this, you're this, or "Oh, you can take this test and you're the info. I'm like, well, how do you know my why if you don't know my who? If I don't know
Yeah.
who I am, how the hell can you tell me my why? And they're like,
Yeah.
what? They kind of be, they're like, what? And I'm like, because everyone's like going around saying, oh, I know your why. And I'm like, how? Like, and maybe I just don't get what they're doing, but I'm like, if you don't know yourself, how do you know your why? Because
Right.
knowing yourself leads to your why.
Mhm.
My thought. So yeah, that all that stuff. So I just stick with Myers-Briggs. A lot of people say, oh God, that's so 1940s. And that's why Well, that's why I did develop it into, but you got to think of this too. This is a really cool story. The founders, Myers and Briggs, it was a mother-daughter duo. They were actually working with Carl Jung.
Hmm.
People don't know that. There's actually letters that they were, they were
Hmm.
sending letters back and forth. Yeah. And they were at a time, could you imagine at the end of World War II, here's two ladies trying to really shuffle and barge their way into the patriarchal society at that point, because that's when all the institutions were rebuilding and let's go forward and let's take the women out of the workforce. We just saved the world like working during y'all's warring thing. But but I just find that fascinating. So you really give credit there. I mean, I give a lot of credit to them because they broke so many barriers doing what they did. And they're like, well, they don't even have a degree. I'm like, I wouldn't need a degree either if I'm sitting there talking to Carl Jung on speed dial.
And that's
Sorry.
it. He's the teacher.
He's the teacher. I'm like, come on. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people, because, the whole thing online with you're an introvert, so you go to a party and you stand in a closet, which is totally untrue.
Yeah.
You know how they do that online. It's all
It's all bogus stuff.
it's stereotypical. It's horrific. It's just like, please don't pay attention to that. And it's really bad when they say one type's more creative than another. That blows me apart. I'm like, what? Don't you ever say I'm like, I gotta back up because I'm judging, and that's what they believe. So I'm like, and I just go, I do not believe that's true.
Yeah.
Duh. And then I put a heart and I go. I'm like, you do you, but we're all here to create. We come from a creative being. How can we not be creative?
Exactly. That's where we're creators. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
Everything that we do to making the bed, we're creating nice space for us when we're cleaning our house.
I love it.
So we're just doing
Absolutely.
amazing things. We're
Yeah.
human beings are incredible
I know. We really are. And resilient,
and resilient. Yes.
It's
I
like,
always,
yeah.
yeah. So when sometimes people come to me, oh, this is the worst day of my life, this, that. I said, okay, let's think about the last time it was the worst day of your life. You
It was
got through it,
yesterday.
didn't you?
Yeah.
You got through it, didn't you? So
Yeah. Yeah.
what makes you think you're not going to get through this time?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
reminder how resilient we are.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
for those who
Absolutely.
are new to personality typing, how can they begin their journey with spiritual personality typing to discover their potential and purpose? Like how can they connect with you, I should say?
Oh yeah. Well, I write a blog pretty much once a week. And this week I on there it's personal branding for introverts. So there's tips, there's hacks, and there's always a journal prompt or reflection question because I'm not here just to teach you. I'm here to help you shift perspectives. That's what's important to me. Without applying this stuff and learning it, it's useless. So I always kind of give in little like I don't want to say homework, but more of, inspirational tools to get you started thinking differently, right? I always say, stop your stinking thinking. That's what I say. But so my blog, everything's at ninazapala.com. My blog's there. My book, yay, is on Amazon. So they can find that there. I'm on YouTube. I had to do Nina Zapala at ENTP because that was my Nina Zapala was taken. But I'm everywhere. So if you just go into my website portal, and I'm starting to I got to figure out how to do all this gray hair. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to get all. I mean, I do enough online stuff, but I need to start teaching. But I'm doing VIP intensive classes now, which I think is really cool. Like, there's one that I love. It's I call it word therapy. And it's really cool because social media, you know how this is. You get on social media and like you look at travel and they all sound the same. 10 best places to go. It's all the same, right? But if they started getting into their personality type, their travel personality type, what I help them do is use their words. How do your values and beliefs? How do you, when you travel intentionally and thoughtful, how do you show up? And how can you express that in your posts? So I want to start seeing that a little bit more differently than the old patriarchal paradigm of just consuming, 10 best places to go. Well, let's just go to one place and really get into it and really discover things about yourself instead of rushing through. Because then you're just like in life again. So,
Right.
so I'm doing a lot of teachings that way. Yeah, I do a lot of personal branding work, of course. So it's
Love
exciting.
it. It
Yeah.
is
Exciting.
exciting,
Yeah.
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 So I will have everything in the show notes for our listeners, but
Thank
any
you so
last
much.
words, Nina, or thoughts you'd like to share?
I'm just thank you for allowing me to be on your show. This has been so great. We're like-minded, of course, very much so. Um, and it's just you're letting me, you know, share this kind of an emerging personality type, right? So it's a new kind of theology, and I just really appreciate you supporting me as a woman, allowing me to share that. So my hat's off to you.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Anytime.
yeah.
I
My
love
hat's off to
holding
you.
space for everybody,
Yeah,
especially
I really appreciate.
females on a mission.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I think it's really important, especially at this time that we gather and just gather our strength and really go forward and do what we're here to do. So it's exciting.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
It's good. It's good. Thank you again. I
Um,
really appreciate you.
well, thank you so much, Nina. It's been an absolute honor, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah. Take care of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.